Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Lord protect us. May He nourish us. May we acquire the capacity to study and understand the scriptures. May our study be brilliant and may we not cavil at each other. Om, peace, peace, peace unto us all. Dear brothers and sisters, loving Sai Ram to all of you, we welcome all of you for the online meeting of the Sri Sathya Sai Center of Arcadia. We are continuing the study circle on Unity is Divinity. We are going to start on page 67. I think you got the link for the study circle and the page we are going to start. So last week we were discussing about Hiranyagarbha. This word comes quite a bit in the scriptures. So this is another name for God, the Supreme Lord, they call Hiranyagarbha. Like actually Brahma himself, the creator, another name for him is Gayatri, Hiranyagarbha. He is called Hiranyagarbha. The real meaning Hiranya means gold. Garbha means womb, the one who has gold in his womb. And Swami beautifully said that this gold is there all pervading us. It is in our heart. So, but when Swami and during Mahashivratri he brings out that Hiranya Garbha Lingam. So the significance is it is this Hiranyam, this divinity is all pervading. But because of his power, it can come back in that form to represent the purity and love. So and Swami says all of us have Hiranyagarbha Linga. We can also bring it up if we have that kind of purity. So how to develop this Hiranyagarbha? Swami was telling two things. One is to have purity. And to develop that purity, Swami talked about selfless service. Chittasya shuddhaye karmanaha. To do the service with purity and selflessness, that is the important thing, without any question of doership and enjoyership. And second thing Swami was talking about is don't get associated with any political activities and organization and serve the people where there is a need. That is another thing. And another important thing is, you said, always develop a happy and cheerful attitude. So she says, doubt, depression and anxiety and fear will take you away from God. At all some situations, it's not easy, but that itself we can make like a spiritual practice. Just now we saw the video clip of Swami's darshan between 7:15, 7:30. There you can see Swami like a little child giggling, laughing, being happy. So he says, just try to have that happy attitude. So that is where we ended. So we all have that divinity all pervading in us, but we can bring it out by practicing purity, which can be bring about by selfless service and developing a happy, cheerful attitude. Okay, so now we'll be starting with page 67. This is a discourse given by Swami on 2008 May. So we'll try to we'll start that.
Sai Ram, brothers and sisters. Dr. Reddy, before we start, last week we had a question that we could not take due to lack of time. Do you want to take it now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So this is a question from a very senior devotee of the Arcadia Center, Hemabain. The question is as follows. COVID is causing suffering of all kinds, both physical and mental. Is this due to our own karma, or is there a lesson to be learned? Today I saw a Zoom ceremony after the death of a friend. It caused overwhelming sadness for family and friends. Can you please give us more light on suffering and our own karma?
Yeah, this is a very practical question. No doubt we are all facing challenges, COVID-19. So this is in many ways causing distress people in many fronts. People sometimes they have to close business, and some people they are losing jobs. So there is one aspect, the financial aspect, where people have to be unemployed and have difficulty meeting both ends meet. And another aspect is the social impact. People are bound in their own homes, particularly if they're small, and they're causing a lot of emotional distress in the family members. That is another aspect. And then the loss of the loved ones, as she was talking about, where they are admitted in the hospital, going through suffering, and sometimes you can't even see them. The death so sad. This COVID is causing these social, economic, and emotional challenges. So in this situation, this is a fact, we have to face it. And if you see in the history, this is not the first time. Over history, many times people had, at one time there was an epidemic of plague when people died for those days, hundreds of thousands. They have a great flu epidemic another time SARS. So in the history, there is these wars, epidemics, challenges happen. But how do you take it? There is people, they can get depressed, worried, and there are people who commit suicide and who are isolated, so that can happen. Or take it as a challenge and meet the challenge. Swami says, life is a challenge, meet it. So we need to have to meet it with the confidence, particularly for spiritual seekers. This is a great opportunity to go inwards, contemplate, think about God. And remember always, why fear when I'm here? If you go on like a mantra, God is with us, He says above us, below us, inside us, outside, then automatically the fear will go away. Actually, you should remember this WIVHSA, where Swami is telling, so no fear. But one thing we have to remember all, whether you are a saint or a sinner, or you are a king or a poor man, or whether you are a scholarly man or ignorant, suffering is inevitable. Everybody gets suffering, either physical suffering or mental suffering. But misery is optional. The same suffering, somebody gets little sickness, oh my God, I'm going to die, this is the end of it, they will say. Somebody says, nah, I don't have any problem. I have seen that in our own family, some people, how the same challenges, same suffering, take it because they are not miserable. Whereas same suffering, somebody else, they are miserable. They complain, grow, and they come to tell everybody. So suffering is inevitable, that is a part of life, but misery is optional. That is what says. Even Lord Buddha, that is what he found. Anityam asukham lokam, like Lord Krishna said, this whole world is temporary and full of pain. Another place he says, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This like a temple of misery and ashashvatam, temporary. And also Lord Buddha, what did he say? Kshenikam, kshenikam, dukkham, dukkham. So they all found out this is the nature of things. Nobody can escape that. So when it is like night and day comes, misery and happiness, they're part, like night and day they will be coming. Even if you read the history of the avatars, how much Rama, he was about to be coronated, he has to go to the forest, and Mother Sita was abducted, to the pain. Lord Krishna, even from his birth, put in jail, he has to face all these demons and he has to go through. Jesus, the Lord Jesus, how much suffering he has to go through, even he has to be crucified. Even Lord Buddha, how much torture he went through, his cousin and other people, Devadatta and all that. So Shirdi Baba, you can see how when he was coming up, our Swami in those days. So that is part, the avatars are showing they have all power. They are omnipotent, and in spite of that they are showing, once you take this human body, first First you have to accept the truth. Yes, suffering will come. Okay, then each one of us, the suffering, as I said, is how you handle is different. Why do you get suffering? This suffering, as I said, diseases, mental afflictions, challenges, economic, anything, is due to our karma. That is why one thing about our Vedanta said, whenever you have suffering, don't blame other person. Always say, oh, that guy responsible. We are responsible for our own situation. That's why even Jesus said, as you sow, you reap. So Swami gave an example. You sow a mango seed, you will get a mango tree, mango fruit you enjoy. You say a bitter melon seed or a neem seed, you will get neem fruit or bitter melon. So what the seed, whatever karma we planted, that is what we are reaping now. Even our birth, Lord Krishna says in Gita, even that we choose ourselves. I need to be born in that family because depending on your situation. So don't blame parents or anybody. You have chosen to be born in that situation. And he says also, depending upon your karma, you have a bad karma, you will be even born into a lower kinds of upadhis, like animal or plant or a thing. But if you have a good one, so depending upon, you will be born in a people where they have an interest in spirituality, where there are people who are holy people. So depending upon your karmic balance, good balance, you will be born in that circumstances. But then practicality comes. Okay, I'm having this problem. He has disease or some financial problem. How do you face it? So Swami has shown in the scriptures, Gita said, 3 ways. So as I said, we all have karma, 3 types of karma. Sanchita karma means we don't know last life we did something wrong. Sometimes we don't even know what we did and we are suffering. That is because you have past karmic load. And one is prarabdha karma. That means what you did before, we are already paying for it. So that is already done. And third is agami karma, what we are going to do. Lord Buddha gave a beautiful example. Like say a hunter is taking a bow and arrow. He is about to hit it, right? He has a quiver filled with arrows. So when he is about to hit, this bow is full with the bowstring and the arrow is pointed out at somebody. So then he finds, or somebody tells him, hey, that is bad. So just he changes his mind, then right away, what happens? That arrow has no effect because he changed his mind. And also, the quiver, the full of arrows, has also lost effect because he is not going to use them. But the arrow which already he released is going to go and hit it. That is prarabdha. So which your quiver carrying with the full arrows, that is sanchita, it is already there. And the one which you are releasing, which is going to hit, that is the prarabdha. And agami is what you are going to do. So in our hands, what we can do is, we can always change what we can do. So see good, do good, hear good. So that is what we can do. Don't try to, you cannot change what is done. But from now on, whatever we do, we can not do bad things because we have to pay for the bad karma. And another thing is, whenever we are doing any action, so Swami says by prayer, you can say, so for example, something bad is happening. Swami, please change it. So from negative, you can change it to the positive. Okay? So something is bad, it will change. But sometimes it won't change because whatever destined to happen will happen. Then what will happen? Then your stage will come when it gives you strength to bear the pain. First is you can change the bad situation to good. Sometimes he won't change, but at least gives us strength to bear that pain. Like he gave the example, like you are going on a thorny road. So it is thorny, but you have shoes, then you won't feel that, right? So similarly, he will give the strength. Or somebody you are going through pain, you give anesthesia, then you won't feel pain. So that is another way by God's grace. So first is by prayer, you will change bad to good, and then that good you will change. Sometimes you won't change. Then he will give you the strength to bear that suffering. So that is another thing is that. Finally, a stage will come. Everything, whatever happens, good or bad, everything, you accept joyfully. So joyful acceptance. Everything is Shivam, everything. There is no good, no bad, everything is good. So that is the progress you will do by constantly thinking about God and surrendering to God. And there is another aspect is jnana path. That is where the highest thing to burn the karma is path of jnana. That is called, Lord Krishna says, jnanagdi dagda karmanam tamahuhu panditam buddhaha. So once you realize the truth, the whole karma is gone. Because what does karma affect? This body, mind, affection. The minute you are known that who am I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this, I am the Atma, because Atma is something you cannot kill. The minute you realize the truth, the whole karma is gone. There is no more suffering. You are always, as we were talking about, Adi Shankara said, Nandati, Nandati, Nandatyeva, always in bliss. They are always happy. External situation doesn't matter to them. So that is the direct path of jnana, where you realize everything is unreal. The only reality, everything is Brahman. And Brahman is bliss. So that is why you are always in bliss. So, but that is the direct path where you realize to the self-inquiry, hey, what all, that is a night dream, what we go through all this pain, this is a daydream. So just both are dreams. So you will have conviction, not just theoretically saying that. That is the path of jnana. So any of the three methods, first is karma path, where you will realize that do good things, because what all karma you are going through is because of bad things you did, bad seeds. So now sow the good seeds, do good karma, do good deeds, hear good, see good, do good. Swami says that's the way to God. That is the path of karma. Second is path of bhakti, prayer. Lord, change this bad thing to good, and he changes sometimes. Sometimes he won't, but at least he will give you the strength to bear the things. And finally a stage will come where you say there is nothing good, nothing bad, everything is a sign of his grace. Everything is his prasadam. That is the highest attitude. When you develop that attitude, you won't even pray, Swami, change this bad to good and give me the strength, because everything is his prasadam. So how can you reject something? Everything you accept, joyful acceptance. That is the highest stage, the progression. And the third way is path of jnana, where you realize everything is unreal, the only real thing is Brahman. Then there's nothing bothers, then you live in that bliss. So these are the three ways how we will handle these challenges. That is the strength we get through the practice of spirituality. And as I said, this doesn't come overnight. You need what is called abhyas yoga, constantly practice, because so many lifetimes we thought this is the body, this is what we are. So we have to undo that identification to realize the truth. That is why Lord Krishna says in Gita again, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Means after many lifetime, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan, the man who is a wise man, prapadyante, he surrenders to me. Vasudeva sarvamiti sam mahatma sudurlabha. To see that everything is God, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, some Mahatma, that great soul, is very difficult to find. So he himself is telling it is very difficult. After many lifetimes, you come and surrender. That is only handful of people. But to realize that everything is Brahman, everything is Shivamayam, it is very difficult. But it comes with constant practice. So coming back to that, so the answer to this Hema Ben's question, so everything is full of suffering and temporary. That is a fact. But how you handle that suffering is in our hands, either to the path of karma or path of bhakti or path of jnana. Then nothing will affect us. Okay? So that is the long answer to her question. Now we can start on page 67.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Now we'll start page 67. Seeing unity in diversity is true spirituality. All names and forms are manifestations of the Supreme Being, who is the embodiment of peace and auspiciousness. He is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute, and non-dual. He is truth, goodness, beauty, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. Embodiments of divine Atma, People today acquire many types of education in this world, but they lack the knowledge of humanness. They see diversity in unity, but cannot see unity in diversity. Embodiments of love. It is very easy to see diversity in unity. Anyone can do that. But it requires a lot of effort to recognize unity underlying the entire diversity that exists in this world. People today should try to acquire the knowledge of the Atmic principle that is uniformly present in all. One who knows the principle of the Atma knows everything. Consider all human beings in this world as one and recognize the oneness of the entire mankind. Religions are many, but goal is one. Clothes are many, but yearn is one. Jewels are many, but gold is one. Cows are many, but milk is one. There is unity in the entire creation of God, but mankind causes many divisions in it. Unity of the entire mankind is the need of the hour. When you develop unity, there will be purity in your heart. Where there is purity, there is divinity. Unity, purity, and divinity are closely interlinked and interdependent. But people today are drifting away from unity. I've been saying, quote, religions are many, but goal is one. So many people have gathered in this hall. Though they took different routes to come here, the destination for all of them was the same. In the same way, all have to reach one God. Divinity is immanent in every human being. Human life is not possible without divinity. Quote, God is in the form of a human being. Daivam Manusharupena. Unquote. Who is a human being? Without understanding the meaning of this term, people consider someone as a human being who is endowed with human form, with hands, feet, ears, eyes, etc., like a human being. But it is not so. In fact, a human is not different from God. A human is not a separate entity. One who realizes one's oneness with God is a true human being. There may be differences in physical forms of human beings, but the same divine principle is present in all. However, some people cause differences between person and person by various ways. This is the cause of all types of conflicts, sorrows, and miseries in the world today. When one understands the truth that the same divine principle is present in all, there will be no room for differences and troubles. Therefore, always focus on the divinity of humanity. All our difficulties arise when we multiply our differences, forgetting our divinity. Therefore, we should firmly install the divine principle in our heart, which is the same in everyone. Should we stop?
Yeah.
So this discourse that Swami gave in Vrindavan touches on the very basics, as I see it, of our whole spiritual sadhana, which is to see our own divinity and the same divinity in the whole world. And this is the basis of Vedanta, that Ishavasya idam sarvam, all this is permeated by divinity. And so it starts with the principle that we have to go inside us. It is easy to see diversity. People are different, they look different, and last time, as Dr. Reddy mentioned, that it is easy to see where nations are different and everything is different. But to go inside and realize that divinity, we have to go back to God. And if we do that, then all of these conflicts, sorrows, etc., that are afflicting the entire world is going to vanish, because it is like the same body with different outlets. Just like our hands are different than from our feet is different than our head. Everything has a different purpose. So Swami is encouraging us again to go back to the basics, principles, and then all hatred, anger, greed, everything will leave us if we see that divinity. But this is very hard to do, and it has to be done through practice, constant practice, remembering that God is behind everyone. If that is not there, then all this goes away. Sri Krishna expressed this in the Gita, if I remember that. This entire world is like a necklace, and the string that holds the necklace together is God. And Swami Vivekananda actually explained this in his first discourse that he gave in 1893. Mahi sarvamidam pratam sutre maniganaiva. I am the strength, I am the thread that holds the entire world together like a string of beautiful necklaces. Sai Ram.
Actually, the first thing which talks about all names and forms or manifestation, this is a very often quoted verse by Swami in his discourses. At least a few times a year, every year he used to do that. A lot of you may know that. Sarva Rupa Dharam Shantam, Sarvanama Dharam Shivam, Sachidanandam Advaitam, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. So that shows all forms and names. We think they're different. That's what Swami is talking about, diversity. But see the underlying unity. That's why he gives so many examples. Jewels are many, gold is one. Parts are many, clay is one. Stars are many, sky is one. Beings are many, breath is one. Nations are many, earth is one. To drive home the point, don't see the difference, because our nature is like that. We see the differences because we don't. You need to use the special eyes, jnana chakshu. That is why when during the war in Mahabharata, everybody was seeing everything else, but Arjuna could see Vishwarupa. Because why? Dadami jnana chakshu, divya chakshu. He gave a special vision. Similarly, Swami says we can develop that special drishti. So then everything you see nothing but Brahman. That is the difference between a jnani and all that. Actually, Swami said in a beautiful Telugu poem, one profound statement, just one sentence. Sarva Vedanta Grandhala Saramella Okka Vakyana Cheppudu Okkasari Akhila Bhutamulandunna Atmanivu Okkate Ani Manasuna Undavalayi. He says, I am going to summarize essence of all Vedanta in one sentence. Sarva Vedanta Grandhal, essence of all Vedanta scriptures, essence, I will telling you one sentence. What is that? Akhila Bhutamulandunna Atma, the Atma which is there in all beings, not only human beings, whether it is animal, plants, the whole universe, everything is the same. Okkate, there is only one. Don't think your Atma is different, his Atma. The manifestation outside is different. See through that. God, the jnani will see. Whereas we see more outside. Depending upon the level. I suddenly remembered when I started my practice in Arcadia 42 years ago. That time I just took over the practice, and there was one patient she was in 80s, 84, 85. She was a French origin, so she liked me as a doctor. But then when she was going, I like Dr. Reddy, but I am doubtful. Does he know about French bodies? She was French origin. So she thought there is something different, because skin is different, but inside bones, blood and everything, because that is her ignorance. But subsequently she became a good patient. So similarly we see the difference. This is Asian, this is African, this is European, and this is a smart man, this is a not intelligent person, this is a rich man, this is a poor man. These are all mind right away judges. All these characters, man, woman, rich, poor, wise and ignorant and all that. But a jnani won't see that things. He doesn't see the upadhi. This is called the outer manifestation. His vision pierces like laser. He goes through and see the underlying divinity. That is what Swami is telling us. You develop. That is what even Lord Krishna says in Gita. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani cha atmani Ichate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha, who sees in all beings, sarvabhutas tametmanam, who sees in all beings my Atma, and sees in me, all beings in me, he is the greatest one who has the wise one with equal mindedness. So that is the important lesson is to see the unity behind all diversity. That is very important. So yeah, please don't hesitate to ask any questions or any comments. So we want to slowly make it more interactive so that everybody could be participating in this. So just I think, yeah, you can continue from there.
Next, you can accomplish everything by chanting the divine name. I told you a few days ago how Hanuman crossed the ocean and reached Lanka by the power of the divine name of Rama. Before this, all the monkeys, the Vanaras, gathered on the seashore were asked the question, who can cross the ocean in one leap? Some of them said they could cover a distance of 40 leagues. Others said they could go up to 50 or 60 leagues. But when the same question was put to Hanuman, he said, quote, by the grace of Rama, I can cover any distance, unquote. While others merely had a limited understanding of Rama's divinity, only Hanuman had total perception of the reality. It is not spiritual practices like repetition of God's name, penance, yoga, and rituals that give us direct perception of God. Many people have been undertaking these practices, but what have they experienced and achieved? These are merely physical and external practices. It is the name of God that is most important. When you know this truth, you will know everything. That is why I keep on telling you from time to time, quote, Hari bhajana bina sukha shanti nahi. There can be no happiness and peace without chanting the name of God. You can accomplish everything by chanting the name of God alone. Hanuman crossed the vast ocean by constantly chanting the name of Rama, but other monkeys misunderstood this truth. At the time of construction of the bridge over the ocean also, Hanuman told the monkeys to write quote-unquote Ra on one stone and quote-unquote Ma on the other and throw them in the ocean. The stones would then join together to form the bridge. Rama, Lakshmana and the monkeys crossed the ocean and reached Lanka by walking on this bridge constructed on the principle of unity of the divine name of Rama. We should treasure this truth in our heart. Instead of observing differences on the basis of names like Rama, Lakshmana, Bhima, etc., we should recognize the Atmic principle in them and consider all as embodiments of divinity. Spiritual practices like repetition of the name, meditation, sacrifice, and yoga have little significance if the divine name is absent in your heart. You have a name which was given to you by your parents after your birth. You are not born with this name. What you are born with is the principle of Rama. That is the Atma. Call it Atma, call it Omkara, call it Rama. All refer to the same divine principle. Even if you come across your enemy, offer your salutations to them. Your salutations do not go to your enemy, they reach God. When you greet your enemy lovingly, saying hello, they will also give up hatred and become friendly with you. But people today, out of their ego, identify themselves with their names. They consider themselves as Ramaya, Krishnaya, etc., instead of saying, I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. This is the root cause of all our differences. The name that is universally present in all is the name of Rama. When you offer your salutations to others while contemplating on Rama, your salutations will reach Rama. Therefore, do all actions to please God. All your daily chores like cooking, eating, etc. are suffused with the principle of Rama. People undertake worldly, external and physical practices because they do not understand this subtle truth. Can you stop here?
Yeah.
So here I think the main lesson Swami is impressing upon us is that we have to carry God's name in our heart, and whatever name we like, Rama, Christ, Shiva, whatever name, it relates to that one principle, that oneness, and whether we call it Omkara, etc. But merely speaking or mere physical practices are not enough. It has to go inside us, and we have to realize that we are it, we are that, Tattamasi. And once we realize that, then that same principle we'll see in everybody. But this comes through long practice and really living it. And this is the part which Swami emphasizes. It is not doing it, it is living. So I remember in a letter that Dr. D read, Swami advised, live God, breathe God, talk God, see God, know that you are God. And this is the fundamental lesson that Swami wants us to practice, and that takes care of all the differences. That is the basis of unity. And if we do that, then all the other practices will be meaningful. Without it, nothing will be meaningful. Sairam.
Sairam. So anyway, we talked about in the past also the power of the name of God. It is there in all faiths and all religion, but just by itself it takes you to God. That is like Tyagaraja, Mirabai, many great saints and sages, just by repetition of the name of God. And Rama name particularly is very powerful. That is why after chanting 1,000 names for the Lord Vishnu, Mother Parvati asked, you cannot chant 1,000 names because it will take about 20 to 30 minutes. So what is a shortcut? Everybody wants shortcut. She says, Kenopayena lagunar Vishnor nama sahasrakam Pattite pandita nityam shotumichamyaham Prabhu. Lord, I want to know how can same equal effect I have by chanting 1,000 names, what can I do? Then Bhagavan Ishwar, God says, Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Nama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanani. Chanting the name Rama is equivalent to chanting these 1,000 names. That is the power of Rama. So even as Shirdi Avatar, present Avatar, he emphasized this principle of Rama. But here it is cute. Swami says Rama is nothing but Atma. There is no difference between Rama is not just that Dasharatha Nandana. There is one aspect, but ultimately Rama is the Atmic principle, because the problem with this religious is Jesus is the only Son of God, is the only way, people say, or Allah is the only way to reach divinity. Or even among Hindus, people have this Vaishnava tradition, people have this Shaiva tradition, Shakteyas, people who means mother is the highest. So different people. That is the problem. It is nothing wrong to have a chosen deity, but that is not the only thing. So he says, equal thing, consider all the forms of God are same. Sarva Deva Namaskaram Keshavam Prachigati. Whatever God you worship, whatever form, Rama, Jesus, Allah, Shirdi, that is the same divine principle, only one God. Another thing higher than that, Sarva Jiva Namaskaram Keshavam Prachigati. Don't only see in this gods or idols, but in all jivas, all beings, whatever you worship, it goes to the same Lord. In Shirdi we talked about even treating a dog, feeding a dog, everything finally goes to God. So see, not only in the beginning all forms of God is the same divine principle, finally realize that all beings, it is the same divine principle exists. So for that, the best is repeating the name of God with all heart and all love. That is why Tulsidas says about the Ramanama, repeating the name of God is like putting a lamp on the door sill. So like you are coming into a house, in the old days they put a little lamp at on the doorstep. What happens? It will light the outside, it will light the inside. Similarly, he says beautifully, when you repeat the name of God loudly, that is why Nagara Sankirtana, it purifies the vibrations outside. That is why Akhanda Gayatri, all this we are introducing, it creates the vibrations. And also, it cleans our inside, all our negativity, all our negative tendency, all this will be gone. Just the repetition of name is purifier of the outside environment and the inside environment. I think we are almost reaching the time. So we need to repeat how efficacious, it looks very simple, but very powerful is Namasmarana. That is why it is prescribed, and Swami repeatedly emphasized, so we can do Namasmarana by writing Likhita Japam, or repeating it, or through bhajan. But here, Swami himself said, here he was talking about, you should think inside. It is not just saying it loud. So, in the scriptures it is said, Prathamam Pratima Puja. First step in a spiritual thing is, you go to a temple, or you go to a statue, or even our puja room we pray. Prathamam Pratima Puja. Put a statue and do. Madhyamam Japa Stotradikam. Next stage is doing japa and doing bhajans, stotras japa. Uttamam Manasi Puja. The next higher stage is mental worship. Think about God. In your mind you hold the whole thing. Soham Puja Uttamottamam. Highest is to realize Soham, I am that. So sometimes we get stuck only in the beginning, Pratima Puja, that there is only worshipping the idols, going only to the temples you see God. But we should go by praising His glory through the story. Next stage is, wherever you are, mentally we should be able to worship God. That is the Manasik Puja. Everybody, hundreds of times, it is more powerful than the physical worship. Then the highest is realizing your divine nature, Soham Puja. So this is the way Swami wants us to don't get stuck at one level only, that see only you can see God in the idol. You see in all forms, in all names, and everywhere at all times. That is the thing. So I think we should.
There's one question, Dr. Reddy. Do
we have time?
Yeah.
I think
okay.
2 minutes. This week we'll
okay. This question is from a devotee of the center, Saroja. We serve humanity with love and compassion as a sadhana to reach the goal of reaching unity in diversity. What are other possible sadhanas that can help us reach the same goal?
Yeah, so service is very tangible, because when you give food, when you give shelter, when you give water, and any support, you can see that person is getting relief. Main thing, it will help us realize our divinity by purification of heart, because whatever service we do, the attitude is important, that God is doing, and do it with love. Then there are other mechanisms to reach God. I talked about it. Second is the devotional practices, that is doing japam, doing prayer, doing meditation, dhyanam, that where ultimately you find the one dhyata, dhyanam, and dhyam are the same. These are the main practices, is devotional practices. We already know karma yogas, the nishkama karma. Second is bhakti yoga, where main emphasis is in japa, repetition of the name, and dhyana, meditation, and then prayer, and then bhajans. All these are the various spiritual practices in the devotional path. And also listening to the glories of God, that itself also is a bhakti path. These are all the various bhakti paths, japa, dhyana, and listening to the stories of the Lord. And the ultimate, most difficult, but it is possible, like people like Ramana, we also can do it, path of jnana, self-enquiry. Who am I? Am I this body? So no. Am I this mind? No. Am I this intellect? So path of self-enquiry, that is jnana path. That is why all the three paths are important. Path of karma, path of bhakti, and path of jnana. But you can integrate all the three. So like in center, in the beginning we have the study circle, that is like more like jnana path, stimulating our self-enquiry. Then we are going to have bhajans, that is bhakti path. And then we go and do service thing, that is karma path. So all the three we have given, but each one of us prefer particular method. So you can do that, but it is nice to have integral yoga. Okay? So we'll continue. Oh, by the way, next week we will do a study circle on the significance of Mahashivratri in words of Swami. What did Swami say? What is Because following Thursday, March 11th, we are going to have a celebration of Mahashivratri, 24 hours around the world. So I think probably all of you got communication. Look at it. We'll start on 11th at 5:30 a.m. our time with Omkar, Suprabhatam, and Darshan. And it is beautiful. I already have been reviewing the Mahashivratri bhajans being sung, and people in Slovenia, Serbia, and then in Indonesia, Malaysia, Australia. We got so many things, and we'll have the whole 24 hours Shivaratri bhajans, and also we'll have Rudram being chanted 5 separate occasions during those 24 hours. To understand the significance, instead of making Swami, what did Swami talk about Mahashivratri? So just we'll have some excerpts and discussion next week. We'll send you the material beforehand so you can do the study, and then we'll have discussion so that we can do the Mahashivratri with the understanding. Whenever you do the same thing, instead of mechanically, you understand the significance, you enjoy and derive more benefit. That is why we will do that. So next week will be study circle Mahashivratri, and the following week we will Thursday we'll have the Mahashivratri celebration, global online celebration. Okay, Sai Ram.